If you weren't okay with the complex number questions that we looked at yesterday, make sure you send on some emails. I'll gladly answer any of your questions. So this whole idea of complex numbers is based on this idea here. So this is important, and it will be at the top of every complex number question. What if you came across I squared then? So I'm going to leave this question for you. I'm not going to answer it right now. I might answer it in tomorrow's video, but I want you to have a think. What would happen if that's I? What's I squared? So what do I do to the left in order to get I squared? I square it, but if I square the left of an equation, you have to square the right. So what would the answer to this be? What would you get if you got I and you squared it? When you get your answer to that question, I want you to plot it on your argand diagram. Get your x and your y axis, label it. You know, this is your real number line. This is your imaginary number line. And then plot your point. This is very like coordinate geometry, which you've done, you know, aspects of this topic are very like that. So if I had the number 3, and I asked you to point to it. Okay, that's grand. You would have done that in primary school. There's 3. And 1i, 2i, 3i, 4i, 5i, 6i. Okay, and what if I asked you to add it to I? Well, this would be like me asking you to get the number 3 and add it to an unknown. Because like we don't really know what the square root of -1 is. We just call it I so that we can continue working with it. Because your calculator can't give you a real answer. So think of your algebra. Can you add a 3 plus an x? You can only add like terms. So no, I can't add those. So that's as far as I can go. That's a complex number. So it has a real part and an imaginary part. You know, a part we don't know, so we're calling it an imaginary number, which means 3 is there, point to it, I or 1i, so that I can put in that's a 1, just like down here, I could put 3 plus 1x. Sorry, so 1i is there. Well, where's the complex number 3 plus 1i? This is like coordinate geometry. There it is. So if I asked you to plot the number 3, well, you could just point it there. If I asked you to plot I, you could point to it there. But if I ask you to plot the number 3 plus I, well, you can't add those. So you can just show it to me on the argand diagram. And just like your coordinate geometry, there it is. Above the 3 and across from the 1i. What if I asked you to plot 5 plus 2i? Well, firstly, can you add those? Because that's what I'm asking you to do originally. Can you add 5 to 2i? No, they're different. So you can point to 5, you can point to 2i, and then that's where 5 plus 2i is. So I'm going to give you some questions on this of like, this will help go back over your basic coordinate geometry because it's quite similar to that. It's not exactly the same, but it is the idea of plotting points, you know, above this and across from this. And you can just see how you get on with it. I'm not going too fast at the minute, I hope. And the reason that I'm not doing too much at the minute is because it is strange when you come across new numbers that you didn't even know existed. And it's just to get used to those numbers.